Hi everyone, this is Mari Craig, and you're listening to the Small Steps to Wellness show, a podcast where we discuss how we can achieve more wellness in our lives one small step at a time. For the past 6 odd years, I've taken a special interest in nutrition and I've changed the diet of my family on its head. But as I've dived deeper into the world of nutrition, I have learned that health is so much more than just what we put on our plate. This is why on this podcast we will be talking nutrition, mental health, being in alignment, holistic health care, self care, raising children, and more. We will also be hearing stories of women's journeys to overcome trauma and what it has taught them on the way. When we share our stories, we realize we are not alone and that things can change for the better. I'm so glad to have you with me on this journey as I explore what health and wellness truly encompass. If you like what you're hearing, please consider rating the show with a 5-star rating and sharing it with your friends. It really makes a big difference. Now, on with today's show.
Hello and welcome to the Small Steps to Wellness show with me, your host, Mari Craig, where we are discussing how we can achieve wellness in our lives one small step at a time. Now, gut health is a topic that is getting more and more attention in the media, and rightly so. And today I want to talk a little bit about gut health and the connection that has with mental health, because that is a really, really important topic. We will talk about how gut health influences a whole host of other things as well, but the main focus will be mental health. And to help me do that, I've got Nikkie Windsor with me. Now, Nikkie is a certified nutritionist. She's a health coach, yoga breathing coach, gut health expert, and fermentation specialist. I love fermented food. Inspired by her personal journey of living with Crohn's disease and IBS for over 35 years, Nikkie helps people prioritize their gut health, and she provides hope for people who feel trapped by chronic disease and those living with bowel disorders. Now, within 12 months, Nikkie went from lying in a hospital bed to, listen to this, living in the jungle of Costa Rica, where she spent over a decade rediscovering traditional and sustainable living practices and understanding the role that diet, lifestyle, and mindset have on her well-being. Nikkie founded Jungle Goddess Gut Health in the UK in 2014, selling fermented products and health foods while supporting people with digestive issues and food intolerances. And since returning to the UK, I can't believe we want to return from Costa Rica, but that's another discussion. And graduating, Nikkie offers personalized coaching programs, and she continues to share and teach the skills learned in the jungle at talks, demonstrations, and workshops. And I will be sharing a link to a workshop with you a bit later on. And we're going to be talking about her journey and what she's learned from it and how gut health plays a massive role. So welcome, Nikkie.
Thank you very much, Mary. Nice to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for agreeing to be on. You know, we're both the students of the Culinary Medicine College, and I put out a post to all the students saying, I want to talk to somebody about mental health. And you said, yes, please. I want to talk to you about it because gut health and mental health are so connected. How is this? Where does your story begin when it comes to all of this? I guess 35 years ago, right?
Yeah, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease when I was 15. So I went through, well, I've been on a sort of nearly lifelong journey with that. And I was probably in flare-up of the conditions for about 12 years, dealing with active symptoms. And then I went into symptom remission, and I enjoyed nearly 5 years without any active symptoms. But then what I didn't realize at the time, my job, I was on the career ladder, career girl, in working in corporate IT, and had made some quite big jumps in my career and into a lot of stress. And the symptoms of Crohn's disease started flaring up. I had major surgery. That's why I was in a hospital bed. I had part of my bowel removed, but my symptoms started again. And that was when I got diagnosed with IBS as well as inflammatory bowel disease. It was really then when I made the connection between the stress of my job and the severity of my symptoms. But I think, you know, back then it was the mental health wasn't so talked about. There wasn't the connections made. And that connection between stress and conditions, just there was still a big gulf. And I think I made that personal discovery, and I made changes in my life. I actually decided I can't carry on working. I was stuck at home. I could barely leave my house. And I realized everything I had was material and that I lived to work. And in that moment, I decided, actually, I can afford to give all of this up and pursue my passion, which was travel. So I couldn't leave the house, but I booked a ticket to travel the world. And I gave myself 8 months to get well enough to travel. And with that, taking a step back from that stress of work, making that decision had a positive influence on my symptoms.
Yeah, that's interesting. So just deciding I'm going to do something else.
Yeah, it's like that, taking that pressure off, because we don't realize, you know, this weight on our shoulders of this responsibility. And I was actually getting ready for the next promotion. And it was the first time in my life that I thought, I can't do this. And I was very driven in my career. And that was really hard to come to terms with, that I couldn't. And I think it was that thing of what was important to me. You know, I was doing everything that we learn from society, from our culture. You know, you get a job, you work hard, you progress, you buy a house. I mean, I had a converted barn and it was my dream home. But, you know, I was doing what I was really good at. But was it my passion? No, it was really what was expected of me. And I think that hitting health crisis, it forced me to reconsider my priorities in life. And then that decision made it. I mean, it took 8 months for me to get well enough to travel, and I still wasn't symptom free. But yeah, just that decision took a weight off those shoulders and enabled me to start functioning in life again.
That's fascinating. I really love that, because we said before we hit record that we were going to talk a little bit about the influence that chronic stress has on our health. And that must have been so obvious to you then, that actually just stepping away, making the decision to step away, I mean, I guess it's hard because you built up such a career, but if it's that clear that your symptoms are getting better, then you're making the right choice, right?
The decision, I mean, came before that. I was sat at home, as I said, I could barely leave my house. And I'd always loved travel. And I was very fortunate. I could take 2 and 3 week holidays. And I traveled far and wide, but I always thought I had too much to give up to do it, to go off and actually travel rather than take a holiday. And it was that moment when I'm stuck at home. Yes, I've got all of this lovely stuff around me, but I lived to work. I had no social life. And I realized just how material my life had become.
Do you think a lot of people have discovered this for themselves during the last couple of years?
I think so, because what you value, I think it brings to your attention really what you value in life, you know, and it's when things get taken away from you. I mean, a lot has been taken away from us in the past 2 years. And I think it makes you appreciate what you've got. And one of the things that I thought was great that came out of lockdown was the focus on exercise, on well-being, the recognition. I think the recognition for mental health has jumped up hugely in the past 2 years, because you know, this situation has forced so many people into an area of stress, either taken away from them or enforcing stuff on them. So yeah, I think a lot has come out of it with for the benefit of people through, ironically, taking stuff away.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've heard this expression used before by a friend of mine, where she says, thank you for the trauma, because maybe when you're in the middle of a trauma, you're not very grateful for it, but when you're out on the other side, you can kind of appreciate what good has come out of it.
Oh, definitely. And it's one of the things that I say with my journey with Crohn's disease, is that I wouldn't change it.
No, exactly.
Because me experiencing Crohn's disease, the life choices I've made because of Crohn's disease have taken me on such an incredible journey that has given me so many valuable experiences that if I did it all over again, I'd go through it all again. I'd just hopefully realize earlier in the journey the changes that I need to make, and that really prioritizing self and determining what's my passion and doing everything I can to work with that instead of doing what's expected of me by society, and just start living outside that box. Yes. Everything exciting that happens is outside of the box, and it's not always comfortable.
No, but you see me sitting here just nodding and smiling, because that is, I think I've certainly realized this the last couple of years that, there are so many other things we can be doing apart from just this whole, first you do this, then you do this, then you do this, and then you die, basically. So it's But so this journey then, tell me, you ended up in Costa Rica. Why there?
Yeah. Just kind of happened. So I planned a year traveling through the Americas, and I got to Guatemala, and there was an opportunity to work in a youth hostel there in the most incredible natural area. It's a place called Semak Champay. But I had a schedule, for my year of travel. I had a schedule. I had a plan to go to Costa Rica to work for 6 weeks in a sloth sanctuary. And I was torn because I really wanted to pursue this opportunity in Guatemala, but I had this commitment and I wanted to work with the sloths. So I moved on, and I regretted it. As much as I really enjoyed working with the sloths, the organization didn't have, in my opinion, enough focus on the welfare of the animals. So I regretted keeping to my schedule, and I decided at that point, right, schedule goes out the window. It's not surprising, I was, project management, corporate IT, so I was very used to living in that structured way. But at that point, I'm like, right, goes out the window. And my 7 weeks in Costa Rica, I fell in love with this remote surf town in the back end of nowhere. It was a hidden gem. And I decided to hang out a bit longer. I went on a dolphin tour with the local dive shop and signed up to become a dive master. I'd never dived before in my life, and I signed up for the whole shebang. So I spent 11 months training to be a dive master. I went away for a short period of time, 3 months, but then returned. And 7 weeks turned into over a decade.
Wow. And the old you would never have guessed that was going to happen, right?
Absolutely not. And it was very much just, let's be guided by the universe. Let's just go with the flow and see where my life takes me.
Yeah.
And, you know, those first few years, you know, I'd come out of the corporate career and, you know, I was just letting my hair down and enjoying life and just doing anything I could to stay there. And yet partying and, you know, just doing so many cool things. You know, it's like, I mean, the place where I lived, it was all dirt roads, you know, you'd always lose electricity and water, cold showers, you know, it was very simple living, but it was such a great community that I absolutely loved it. But after a couple of years, I was sort of like, I felt I was lacking purpose. And it was like, you know, I'm not that person to just, you know, party for years on end. It's like, I need purpose in my life. And I started, you know, really looking for more. And where I was, it had a very big party feel, but it also had a huge wellness aspect to it. And I connected with a local massage school and started doing some training with them. And I trained in massage therapy. I became a Reiki master. So I really started my spiritual path and connecting with the mental aspect of my health and well-being. You know, up until then, I very much looked at the gut side and what am I eating, but not really looking at that mindset side. And really from that just snowballed my journey into wellness. And so with following the massage and things, I started doing a lot of work through these people on mindset. And it was at that point where I started doing like positive affirmations and realizing how negative my internal talk was. And not realizing it. And it was that action of starting to do positive affirmations, standing and looking in the mirror and saying nice things to myself, which felt so awkward and wrong. And realizing I just don't speak well to myself. And I think if we could turn up the volume of what's in our head and everyone else could hear it, there would be some shocks, because I think we speak very badly to ourselves. And so that was a big shift towards a more positive mindset. And alongside that, my symptoms were getting worse. So it was like, right, I've got to look at what I can do myself, the things within my power to change, or I've got to go home and get treatment. Yeah. So I'd heard that fermented foods were really good for gut health, and that's how I got into fermenting. I just did all the research I could in an internet cafe in the middle of nowhere, and started fermenting. And I was studying medicinal plants with a wellness school in the village, and we were on a trip in a minibus up to a conference on medicinal plants up in the capital city of Costa Rica. And I was talking about my ferments, and everyone's like, we would love this. There is such a demand for it. There's so many people with gut problems or food intolerances. Why don't you start selling? So I did. I got myself a table at the local market, and I started selling a few products. And that was where Jungle Goddess was founded and grew into a lot more fermented foods. But with my journey with diet, I did a lot of exclusion diets, and I struggled to find anything that I could easily eat. So I started making a lot of grain-free, gluten-free, dairy-free snacks that I could eat, and everyone else wanted them too. So I expanded into health foods, and I ran that business for 6 years in Costa Rica.
Wow, that's fantastic. I love fermented foods. Can you tell me a little bit about why it's good for us? Because I think a lot of people I know kind of it's good for our gut, so we need to eat it. But why? What does it actually do?
So fermented foods, people think of them as raw foods, but they're not. They've had some sort of biological action on the compounds of the foods, and that's done by bacteria. So there's many different types of fermented foods. So the ones people are most familiar with are like sauerkraut, kombucha, kimchi, kefir. But a lot of foods that you have on a daily basis are also fermented. So chocolate is fermented, coffee is fermented. They just don't have the live bacteria in them anymore, because at a point during the production process, they're killed off. But it's because that bacterial action on the food changes the components of the food. So it often makes them a lot more bioavailable to us. So it's easier to digest. It will change flavors. So it's responsible with a lot of the flavor with coffee and chocolate. And if you think of wine and flavor with wine, wine is fermented. All alcohol is fermented. So you have these foods that the bacteria has a positive aspect on the food because it will digest some of the components, which makes it easier for us to digest. But for those live foods, the traditional fermented foods, they have live bacteria in them that resembles the same kind of species that exist in our digestive system, mainly in the large intestine. So most of these bacteria are transient. They pass through our digestive tract, but it's like they're fortifying our own bacteria and microbes to improve the health of our gut. And our gut health is this colony of microbes in our gut helps us in so many ways. It 60 to 70% of the immune system is in the gut, and the microbes help support the immune system and the immune function. It helps with blood sugar management. The bacteria can synthesize a number of compounds, food compounds that are beneficial to us, so like vitamin K and short chain fatty acids. So it helps us with the energy balance. Microbes in our gut affect weight management, and there's what we call psychobiotics, which influence brain health, because you've got the gut-brain connection, and there's certain either microbes that can cross the brain-blood barrier, or components of microbes from the gut that are beneficial to brain health. So yeah, it has your gut health, and that colony of microbes has such an influence over so many aspects of our body.
And it's bloody delicious as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
and then that's the upside as well.
The other thing about it, yeah. I mean, it's something that has become really popular the last few years, hasn't it? You all of a sudden see kimchi and kombucha everywhere. But I'm not sure if we really understand the benefits of it. What did it do for you then? So you started learning how to ferment. What did you notice, first of all, for you with your symptoms? Because you were saying that you had flare-ups and your symptoms got worse, and then you started with the fermentation.
To be honest, to begin with, not a great deal. And that is because, on my journey and what I've learned along the way is what you're eating is only a very small part of your overall health and well-being. So at the time,
takes a while. Yeah.
It takes a while, but at the time, I hadn't really aligned my diet at that point. So had I really aligned my mindset? No. And it's that thing, if you have a poor diet, then, you know, a couple of tablespoons of sauerkraut and kimchi are not going to radically change your microbiome, because your microbiome, the health of your microbiome, is very dependent on the food that you're eating. So if you're eating high sugar foods, processed foods, then not going to be supporting the right species of bacteria. And that's where you end up getting what we call dysbiosis, which is an imbalance of bacteria in the gut, and create so many undesirable symptoms like bloating, like gas, like diarrhea and constipation. Now, the good bacteria in the gut relies on types of fiber. So you need a diet that's rich in fruits, vegetables, grains, starches. And this type of fiber, it's resistant to digestion. So it gets through to the large intestine, where it's a fuel source, it's food for those microbes. So until you're looking at your whole diet, that bit of fermented foods being added in is it's trying to climb a mountain, because you've got to improve your whole diet instead of just trying to add that in. So it was more when I started really focusing on understanding what my trigger foods were and removing my trigger foods, having a more wholesome diet, and then it's complemented it, that journey to better gut health, and really removing those things like alcohol, for example. I drank too much, and for the wrong reasons. And where I was living, it was where you went down to the local bar. And I'd known for a long time that alcohol was a major trigger for me, but I'd resisted giving it up. And I gave it up for a while, and then go back to it once my symptoms had improved. So it's also really recognizing what those triggers are. I mean, I've actually removed alcohol now, which is a lot, and I'm so much better for it. So there's a behavior changes to make, and that was me with drinking. It was a behavior that I'd had for a long time, and my social circle was built around that as well. So making behavior changes, it's challenging.
Yeah,
it's not easy, but it's definitely worth it if it's the right change for you.
Yeah, exactly. I would imagine that a lot of people would change everything else before they change alcohol, but and I think for some people, maybe moderate amounts or certain types will be fine, and for others it's like zero. You can't have anything. But it's interesting what you're saying about how one thing isn't going to solve everything, and because it is a puzzle, and there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle that is health, and you cannot just do one thing and expect a miracle overnight, because food is medicine, yes, but it's not a pill that you take and then all symptoms disappear. And also, you can do as many changes to your food as you want, but if you've got a negative mindset surrounding so many other aspects of your life, then I think there's only so far you can go on your wellness journey before you kind of hit the wall a little bit, I think.
Well, it's lifestyle change. It's why, diets don't work. Yeah. It's, it's ways of eating. Some people have to have a restricted diet. Maybe like celiac. If you're celiac, then you can't have gluten, so you've got to restrict your diet and remove gluten. But diets for weight loss, it's how you get the yo-yo diet in, and people will follow it for a period of time. Well, what's going to happen once you've achieved your goals? What are you then doing to maintain your goals? To do that requires lifestyle change. And lifestyle, it's breaking old habits and creating new habits, which is challenging. But once you can do that, then and shift your perspective to creating not a restricted lifestyle of I can't eat this, but understanding what is available to you and determining how you can really enjoy a way of eating with that range of foods that is accessible to you, then you get away from this denial. I mean, it's you know, people don't work well with being told what not to do. So focus on what you can do, what you can achieve, and build your lifestyle habits around that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm actually doing what a cleanse at the moment, and I'm not following there's guidelines you follow. So obviously not rules but guidelines, and because I'm breastfeeding, I'm obviously not restricting myself of anything. But it's interesting because I've been doing that type of cleanse on and off for the last 7 years, and it's not a diet, it's kind of helping you get back into more, it's such a fad word, but cleaner way of eating, if you will, and understanding what foods work well for you and what foods don't. And it's interesting because I tend to say now that I eat whatever I want, because what I want to eat has changed because I made these small changes, cumulative changes, the past few years. So when I do these cleanses, I just crank it up a little bit more, but I've learned that my body much more enjoys certain types of food to others, and so by slowly transitioning, I now feel like I'm eating all the food I want, because I don't want that food that I used to eat 7 years ago. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And it's not just you that's changing. So when you change these foods, you're starving out some of your bad bacteria, and you're encouraging that good bacteria. Well, that bad bacteria doesn't want to go anywhere. So it can trigger cravings. So it's not just a process of you getting used to new lifestyle change. The beings in your body are getting used to the change as well. So it's recognizing, like, you've got to get back, really give yourself 30 days, 30 days to change habit, but 90 days to really embed it as lifestyle. So it's sticking with it and doing everything that you can, like setting reminders, stacking habits, so trying to create your new habits alongside existing habit. So like, I mean, I'm adding a new habit to my oral care in the morning. So at the beginning of this year, I just used to brush my teeth. At the beginning of this year, I started flossing. So it's like, right, I'm going to start it. So now I'm flossing regularly. The next one I've just started a couple of weeks ago is tongue scraping, because your oral area is the first part of digestion. And so if in its first part of gut health is what's in your mouth. So good oral care improves gut health. So it's like that. Now it's like, right, I brush I floss, I brush. So it's stacking these habits together to make them easier to adopt and embed in my lifestyle. Yeah. So yeah, it is. It's doing what you can to do these things every day to keep yourself accountable before it becomes habit. Like now, I feel bad if I don't do my exercise in the morning, or if I don't floss. It feels wrong.
Yeah, no, exactly. This is exactly it. But I think the challenge that we're having in sort of modern society is that we want things to happen 5 minutes ago, right? We want results straight away, and then we sometimes get to a point where we get so frustrated and we go, right, I'm jumping on this diet, or I'm doing this, or I feel rubbish, I'm going to do all of these things in one go, and then we fall flat on our faces. And I know you talk about starting small and building momentum. Is that how your personal journey was as well?
Yeah, it's two of the things that I've really noticed since coming back from Costa Rica. And, you know, Costa Rica, where I lived, happiest country in the world, very positive, live in the moment community. And coming back here, and two phrases that I heard the most was, I can't and I don't have time.
Yeah.
And it made me realize how much that I'd removed that mindset whilst being in Costa Rica, because I had it, but it's taking control again. It's like we're giving away our power by saying, I can't do this, I don't have time for this. You do. You need to recognize that you choose not to. It is a choice. So it's, again, it's that change in mindset and yeah, trying to start small, and it's listening to that voice in the head. And if it says something negative, challenge it, you know, and say, is that true? When someone says, you know, I don't have time, or I can't. I can remember a girlfriend of mine saying, yeah, and I can't give up smoking. I'm like, yes, you can. You choose not to.
Yes. And it's a harsh truth, but yeah. But
it's a start of change. It's recognizing that you choose not to. You have the same amount of time as everyone else. And it's okay to prioritize that over this.
Yeah.
Don't deny that by saying you don't have the time. It's like, well, no, actually, this is more important to me, and I'm choosing to do this.
It takes you out of the victim mentality, I suppose, that you think everyone else can, I can't, because all of these things are stacked against me. But actually, saying I choose not to eat healthily, or I choose not to, fair enough, but then you own it.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's empowering yourself.
Yeah.
And all of these little steps that you start taking your power back, you know, you start taking responsibility. And just by making those steps, you start noticing, I think, more things in your life that are important to you. And you start pushing aside those things that aren't bringing you joy. You know, yeah, there's always going to be things that we don't want to do, but it's making sure that we're also choosing the things that are important to us, that we are prioritizing our time on things that are of value and not giving it away to everyone else. And that's, you know, that time for self, whether that's giving yourself time to prepare food on the weekend, do some batch cooking and some batch prep, so you don't have the time because during the week, because you're working late, you're getting back late, so shift that time to the weekend so that you eat healthily during the week. Giving yourself time to decompress, you know, not working late into the evening, you know, going up to bed without devices, taking some time to get ready for bed, maybe start journaling, get the noise out of the head onto paper so that you can sleep better. So it's like, you know, lots of little lifestyle changes that you can implement and build up over time. It doesn't have to be everything. Start with one thing. I did a 30 days of creating healthy habits in January, and it's like, take 1 5-minute walk around the block, you know, read 1 page, journal for 5 minutes, to spend 2 minutes taking deep breaths, like mindset snacks, nutritional snacks, self-care snacks, exercise snacks. Think of them as small little things that you start incorporating in your day and build on them.
Yeah. And I think also, just as you said earlier, knowing that you've made that decision to do these things, just having made a decision, I'm doing these things, that has a positive impact in itself. But how does this how does this land with your clients then when you say to them, if they, because I'm sure you'll have clients that say, oh, I don't have time or I can't. How does it land with them then when you go, no, you do have time, you choose not to?
Whenever I say it to anyone, you see this, yeah, but, and I can see the cogs churning and right, yeah, I can. Why do you choose not to? And because we don't think, it's that's what I say about it's like we giving away our power. It's like I don't have time and it's a decision made. But when you've got someone who says, well, is that worth more than this? You have a choice. And then, yeah, you can, it's getting people to think about what they're saying. And then it's like, well, actually, no, I don't have to. But then it's habit to make that change, because it's very automatic to just dismiss these things instead of really analyzing them and saying, right, okay, what do I need to change here? Yeah. It's very easy to say I don't have time and carry on, instead of actually analysing what you're doing with your time and determining the best way to allocate it.
And then also when you've made a decision, our bodies are clever, they want to protect us, right? So when you make a decision to make a change, your body is going to, have the alarm bells all going, because your body wants to protect you and from the unknown, because we don't know what we're entering. When we start our lifestyle journeys to better health, we don't know what the end result is, because we haven't seen it yet. So our body is going, you better not do that. So it's resisting any change as well. So you've got to be prepared for your own self resisting the changes you put upon it. And it's about, I guess, understanding that part wants to protect you, but also the part that wants to change wants to protect you. So they want the same things, but they're just showing it in different ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's that, I mean, that's what I see with clients, and that's why I run programs, because people, when they're making change, it really helps to have accountability. It helps having someone to go back to say how you've progressed. Now, whether that's through a health coach, I mean, that's what I do as a health coach, is helping people make these lifestyle changes. But you can have an accountability buddy for going to the gym. If you're going to the gym, it helps if you have someone else who you agree to go with, because then you motivate each other to go and to keep doing. You're accountable to somebody. So yeah, getting that accountability is what really helps, that I've found helps people make change. And I have people who I've worked with on like 8 or 12-week programs, and they've done really great, but they really value checking in with me once a month to keep them on track. Because it's that everyone knows these changes are good. It's in the press, we hear it all of the time. It's what's stopping us from making that change, and having someone who you're accountable helps give you a reason for doing it and to making sure it's a priority in your life.
Yeah, because somehow it's easier to let ourselves down than letting other people down. So going to the gym, if you said to your friend, yeah, I'm coming, you're going to come.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to let your friend down. But if you just said to yourself, I'm going to the gym tomorrow, nobody's going to know whether or not you made that decision, right? And letting yourself down is, there's no consequence as such, is there? So
yeah, it's raining, so I can't be bothered. But no, you've got someone waiting for you there. They're expecting you, so you go out in the rain and you do it.
I think this is really important. I think we'll wrap up in a minute, but I think this is really important what you're talking about, and that's why health coaching, I think, it can be the way to go for so many people, because it's hard to start these things on your own, because it can seem so overwhelming. Having somebody to cheer you on is really, really beneficial, because what we want is for people to experience success when making changes, because otherwise it can feel so overwhelming. And so yes, having small goals, so you set achievable goals, so you do step by step, but also having somebody to go, yeah, you can do this on a hard day, right? To really support you. Before we wrap up though, we were going to talk more about the mental health thing. How has your mental health been since changing your diet around, and since looking at your gut health? Because now you're in remission, right, from Crohn's disease?
I still have active symptoms, but I'm not symptomatic. So when I came back, I've had all of the tests, and it shows that what I'm doing is keeping the symptoms at bay, even though I have active inflammation. So that for me is a great thing, you know, chatting with my doctor, and he wants me to take some treatment, and I'm like, well, actually I feel fine, so I'd rather not, if I don't have to, and keep working with the diet. I think with mental health, the biggest thing for me was recognizing what was physical and what was emotional. With gut health problems, there is a lot of anxiety, what I call bathroom anxiety. Now, anxiety when I was younger and experiencing this, it just wasn't a thing. It's only in the past 10 years I've recognized how much anxiety I've experienced over the years, and that I actually experience every day, because every day I think about how Crohn's disease is affecting me. It's become habit now, but accessibility to a toilet is always a focus for me. And any time that I have to get up and move around or leave the house, then it's something that I have to consider. And anyone who's dealing with digestive problems has to do that. Either, you know, trying to get home to use the bathroom, or worried about leaving in case you need to have the bathrooms. So I think some of that is really just recognizing and honoring the role of mental health in these chronic conditions, because especially with invisible disease, there is such an impact on mental health. There's a lot of judgment of people with invisible disease that, well, you look fine. And so I think that awareness, which is getting out there, which has been amazing, and then with having that good diet, good exercise, good lifestyle habits, has really, I'm giving my body all of the tools that it needs to be able to function well, both physically and mentally and emotionally. And recognizing stress and doing something about it, because stress is so damaging physically and mentally. But we just, I mean, our language, we soldier on. And it's like recognizing, well, actually, no, I can't. You know, I've been in health crisis. It hospitalized me. It got me housebound because I wasn't listening and stopping. So it's like really listening to the body and recognizing, well, is this stress worth the cost on your health?
Yeah. And you say, no, I can't, but actually, could it also be, I won't have this anymore. I won't have this stress. I will not accept this stress in my life anymore.
Yeah.
Because to a certain extent we can. I mean, yes, if you end up in hospital, obviously you can't anymore, but I think also we can make a choice at some point to say no, enough.
Or management. It's recognizing it. Stress is a positive bodily function. It's extremely valuable to us.
Yeah.
When it works against our health is when it becomes chronic, because stress triggers the fight or flight state, and chronic stress keeps you there. Now, with digestive health, when you're in that fight or flight state, it suppresses digestion. So then you're not absorbing your nutrients, you're not digesting food properly. but we have stress. Our modern lifestyle has stress. So it's, in some cases, you can't walk away from it, but you can learn how to get your body out of that stress state. So using practicing yoga, meditation, doing journaling. That's why I became a yoga breathing coach, because breathing practice, breath work, is one of the best ways in which you can influence your autonomic nervous system and help switch you from that fight or flight into rest or digest. So breathing practices, which are core to practices like yoga. So yeah, incorporating these things into your life. And I've had incredible results with clients just by introducing them to breath work. That they've then, in those stressful situations, they practice the breath work and positively influencing acid reflux, IBS symptoms, and very quickly, within weeks, it can be beneficial.
Wow. But I mean, I say wow, but actually I've experienced it before. And I mean, obviously, just coming now from a 2 months postpartum, the value of breathing when you're in labor is incredible, absolutely incredible. So
that's an incredible stress state of the body.
Yeah,
so
exactly. So being able to have those tools and breathing through things, I mean, it's incredible what I can do for you. Really, really is. There it is. I mean, all the people I talk to that are in that I've been on this podcast so far, that are in the health industry, they've come into it from a personal, because of a personal journey, and I've really enjoyed listening to what you've been doing. I just, it sounds magical living in the jungle for 11 years. It really, really does. But then taking that knowledge that you built up and the experience and everything, and just passing it on. I mean, it's a giving. Can you call it a job, or is it your hobby now? I mean, you work, but it's your, I guess, it's your passion, I suppose, to pass on the knowledge that you've gained to others, right? To help them feel as good as you've managed to make yourself feel.
Definitely. And I make food a big part of it.
Yeah.
Because, food was my nemesis for so long that, I mean, there were times where I would fear eating, and times when I would not eat for 3 days because I just couldn't stand the pain, because I could feel it going all the way through my digestive system. So from getting to a point where I can actually enjoy food, and I've people who do my fermenting courses, they're always blown away by the creativity that I have in my ferments, because I show them such a range of things that you can do. And yeah, I'm sustainability and ethics are really important to me. So really showing people how to make the most of what they've got, which is really important at the moment. Well, it's always important, but it's a focus right now because of rising costs. But it's like I'm building some video blogs on making banana vinegar. So, making use of vegetable scraps, and, making fermented drinks with pineapple skins. And so it's and I love learning all of these things. And so yeah, food it's become my passion, and really wanting to show people that they can live a life with Crohn's disease, with bowel problems, with any sort of chronic illness, and they can take a role in the journey. It's not just about going to the hospital and going to the doctors and expecting, relief from that avenue. You can take a role in your healing journey, alongside, your doctors. But there's so much that you can do with nutrition, movement, and mindset.
Yeah, no, absolutely. On the point of nutrition, you've got an upcoming online gut health and fermenting workshop, right?
Yes, next Wednesday. So I talk all about gut health, and obviously nutrition is part of that, and that feeds into fermented foods. And I do a demonstration and teach you how to ferment. Then you can also join a Facebook group that I have where I provide ongoing support on your fermenting journey.
Oh, exciting. So that's the 23rd of November. Do you do more courses throughout?
Yes, I will be doing more. I'm doing, I have a talk on diet and lifestyle strategies for the menopause. And I've actually, in January, I'm releasing a course that's directed at nutritional professionals. So nutritionists, doctors, nurses, health coaches, fitness trainers, on the microbiome and fermenting and gut health. So really going into the science behind fermenting and the role of the microbes that it has on our health and well-being. So that's I've already rolled that out with the college that I studied with, and looking to share it with other nutritional professionals.
Oh, fantastic. It's a really important job you're doing. I'm going to be putting out a link to that the first online workshop. So I'll put that out in the show notes. That's on the 23rd of November. So if you're listening to this a bit late after that, then sorry, I'm sure there's lots of other courses coming up that you can take part in. And I will also put on the show notes how to get in touch with you, because you got your website, thejunglegoddess.com, and your Instagram, Gut Health UK. That's where we'll find you, but I'll put that all in the show notes so people can learn more about how to work with you. I think I could have kept going on and on about the importance of all of this. I think the main thing to take away from this is that life is not kind of happening to you. You can take control, and there's an immense power that comes with kind of taking radical control over your own life. Yeah,
and it's recognizing that you have a choice.
Yes.
You know, that choice may not be easy, but it's still a choice. Don't give up your power, you know, own it.
Yes, exactly. Listen, Nikki, thank you so much for talking to me today, and I hope I haven't forgotten anything. I still have a little bit of a baby brain, but I'm supplementing with omega-3, so hopefully eating all my oily fish. So hopefully my brain will be back to normal function very soon. But thank you so much for talking to me today, and I hope that's been useful for all of you. If you've got any questions, as per usual, just do get in touch. And as I said, Nikkie's details will be on the show notes. Thank you very much, Nikkie.
Thank you, Mary.
You've been listening to the Small Steps to Wellness show with Mari Craig. I am passionate about helping mums get their energy back through simple nutritional changes, because we know that if mummy is happy, the family's happy. If you would like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram under @smallstepstowellness, or visit my website, smallstepstowellness.info. Speak to you soon.